Weird song choice for an intro? Yeah, I know, but when you take into account the music for this series, then you take into account the series itself, you kind of have to expect the unexpected with this show. Marvel's Iron Fist. It is the fourth in a series of solo superhero shows that have been on Netflix in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've had 2 seasons of Daredevil, we've had Jessica Jones, we've had Luke Cage, and now we have Iron Fist. Iron Fist serves as the bridge. He serves as the final chess piece that you move into position before we get the Defenders later on this year, which involves all 4 of them teaming up. Oh, I can't wait. But in the meantime, you've got Iron Fist, and the story of Iron Fist is it follows this kid named Danny Rand. Danny Rand, aka the Iron Fist, is a kid who everyone thought died in a terrible accident back when he was a kid. His parents obviously did die, and then he basically spends the next 15 years of his life turning himself into the immortal weapon Iron Fist. So when he achieves that, he comes back to New York, he comes back to America, and he has to reclaim his name, but at the same time struggle against a powerful enemy known as the Hand. If you've watched Daredevil Season 1 or Season 2, you pretty much know what the Hand is, and you should also know that the Hand is not to be trifled with, so he and this really fine-ass martial arts instructor have to team up to try to take down the Hand in New York City. Along the ways of their journey, they discover some things about each other that maybe they didn't necessarily know before, and that's essentially the bare bones plot of Iron Fist. I actually am an Iron Fist fan. I grew up with Luke Cage. Luke Cage was my shit growing up. I read a lot of Luke Cage comics as a kid. When you read Luke Cage comics, you can't help but start getting into Iron Fist comics, because in the comics, the two are like this, you know, they're best friends, they're partners. This series had like a 14% or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes for a really long time. A lot of critics were killing it, were saying it was boring and a whole bunch of other stuff. Having seen the show, it's badass, and I honestly think the critics are a little bit wrong on this one, but I can also totally understand why someone would give up on the show after a few episodes. This is one of those shows that is a definite slow burn. Just like the other Netflix solo superhero shows, this is a slow burn type of a show. It draws you in slowly, alright? It builds character, it builds through its story instead of building through action. It's more of a drama with good kung fu action in it, as opposed to a kung fu action epic with a little bit of story and a little bit of character. I'm not gonna lie, to start out this season, the pacing does suffer, and there are a few things I don't like about those opening episodes where I'm kind of like, ugh, I don't know about this, maybe they were right. You kind of have to stick with it, you kind of have to follow them through to the end, because where these characters end up in their journey, and the journey itself to get these characters where they're going to get to, I think is a very rewarding experience, and I really did feel heavily invested in these characters in the second half of the season, and that's because they took their time setting things up in the first half. So again, for some people that might bore them, for some people they might get bored after like the first few episodes, and I totally get that. For me, if you stick around and if you invest enough time in it, I feel like it's going to be a rewarding experience for everybody. Finn Jones from Game of Thrones fame stars as the title character of Danny Rand, aka Iron Fist, aka Immortal Badass. He's one of those aspects of the show where in the beginning I wasn't really that invested in him as a character. He is so boyishly naive to the point of unrealistic. You know, if that even makes sense. His character is so enthusiastic, he's so energetic, he's so positive, he's so determined. It's almost like the guy doesn't even have a disingenuous bone in his body. And that sounds like stuff I should be admiring, but as a character, on screen, the way it's portrayed in the first few episodes, it was kind of rocky. I was like, I don't know if I like this guy that much. You stick with it, his character is going to rub off on you from the simple fact that Danny Rand probably has the most heart, the most pure heart and soul of any character that I've seen on the Netflix superhero division so far. So you just can't help but be invested in this guy. You can't help but root for this guy. Guys, you just kind of have to take a leap of faith. You have to follow them through. What did Batman say in The Dark Knight? I think that applies here.
Sometimes the truth isn't good enough. Sometimes people need something more. Sometimes you need to have your faith rewarded. Sometimes Batman. Sometimes hockey pads.
Part of the reason why Danny Rand didn't really connect with me in the first half of the season, though, is because there was another character that was taking up all of his shine. Probably through episode 5 or 6, I was like, why is he the main character? Why can't we make this chick the main character? I, of course, am talking about Colleen. Now, you guys know me. In terms of hypothetical, unrealistic, fake-ass relationships, Gal Gadot is wifey, okay? That is my wife right there. I love and cherish her. My Wonder Woman. But during the show, I can't lie, I had some thoughts of unfaithfulness because Colleen is just that bae. Colleen is awesome. Colleen is badass. Colleen is amazing. And Colleen is one of my favorite parts about the Iron Fist. She's stupid, dumb, retarded fine. Yes, she is hotter than leftover burnt lasagna. No, she's hotter than lasagna right out of the oven. She would kill Garfield with a single bite. Not only all of that, but then when you find out about her character, you find out how badass she is as a fighter, you can tell that there is something driving her. There is something pushing her. There is something underneath the surface of her that is just screaming to get out of her, and it really did make me intrigued by her in the first half of this season. Over the course of the season, as she gets closer to Danny, you start to see a whole bunch of layers fall away from her. I mean, she's basically just a big old fine-ass onion. Just peel those layers back and eat it. Boy, the mental images that I come up with, I just, I don't know what went wrong just now. Still wouldn't mind seeing Colleen get her own series, and one of the best things about her also is that she has great chemistry with Danny. That's a plus too. Really, I would say all the acting across the board is great. I'm really terrible with names. I can't remember the guy that plays Ward. Ward is one half of the childhood friend that Danny had when he was a kid, and then he comes back to New York and he finds out that these childhood friends are now like majority owners or majority businessmen who are running the company that his family helped build. Ward, I felt somewhat invested in Ward as a character by the end. I really like how his arc concluded. He's not always the most likable dude. He's definitely a dick and a douchebag, but at certain points during the season you find out why he is that way, and you sort of get it. Another guy that stole the show is David Wenham. David Wenham, Faramir from Lord of the Rings. There you go. Faramir from Lord of the Rings. And this is proof, Lord Dickathor, that if you give Faramir time to shine, he can come back in an urban show and still be an awesome character. I'm glad that Faramir didn't listen to Lord Dickathor. By the way, it's either Dickathor or Lord Dinadick. It just depends on which way you want to say that. He was an amazing addition to the cast, honestly. He was also a very fascinating character who had a lot of layers, and he was one of the more interesting things that helped get me through the slog that was the first few episodes of this season. I can't really tell you too much about his character because if I say anything, it would come up as a spoiler, so I can't do that. But what I can say is that David Wenham, yeah, if for nothing else, watch it because Faramir's awesome. It's kind of easy to say that something has pacing issues without actually explaining why it has pacing issues. When I say that this show does have some pacing issues, I'm specifically talking, for me, about like the first 3.5 episodes or so. It does take a long time for this story to get going, for it really to get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. I think that's one of my biggest issues with some of the pacing in this season. That there are entire episodes and there are entire arcs over multiple episodes that are dedicated to stuff that you just don't feel like is that important. Case in point, the first 3.5 episodes, we have to spend a lot of time trying to focus on Danny getting his identity back. And look, for us, the audience, this is kind of a chore to get through because we already know he is who he says he is, because then the show wouldn't make sense. So for everybody else to be so unrealistically against Danny, and to the point of in a post-Avengers world where they just keep saying stuff is impossible. I'm sorry, if we live in a world with Hulk and with Captain America and Thor and Ant-Man and all these other heroes, I just have a hard time hearing anybody in the Marvel Cinematic Universe saying, oh, well, it's impossible. You have to deal with a lot of that in the first quarter of this season, and really throughout the season. There are just multiple episodes and multiple moments where I feel like the pacing drags because we waste time on stuff that's not really that important and not that compelling when compared to the main narrative. Also, the other half of those childhood friends, Joy, I think her character's name in the show is named Joy. Her character gets the least amount of development, and you know what her character really is? Her character is that character that every other character has secrets from and chooses not to tell that character about it. She doesn't know, and it's just kind of frustrating. She's that character that everybody has to tell what's going on. My biggest issue with this series is the kung fu and the martial arts action. Now look, if you've watched Daredevil, you've been treated to some truly epic fight choreography and some great fight scenes in the Marvel Netflix universe. And this show does have some pretty solid action scenes. It does have some pretty solid fight choreography, but I feel like my biggest issue is that the fight choreography is just solid. It's just okay. In a series about a master martial artist known as Iron Fist, I feel like the fight choreography should go above and beyond. It should wow me. It should be directed and shot with a flair and with a sense of style and with something that I haven't seen before. Instead, the martial arts sequences in this show, while they're good, I can't really say that they're above Daredevil. I feel like Daredevil has far more memorable fight scenes. This show has, like, one in my mind that sticks out to me in terms of being an impressive fight scene. Again, I'm not criticizing the fight scenes and saying they're horrible or anything like that, and I'm also not one of those people who goes, oh, well, there just needed to be a lot more fight scenes. No, I was okay with the amount that we got. I'm just saying the way that they were filmed, the way that they were shot, I feel like the action sequences in this show should have gone above and beyond instead of just being ordinary. And I feel like with a character like Iron Fist, the fight sequences shouldn't be ordinary. Iron Fist is actually a pretty damn good show. It's got great characters, it's got great acting, got pretty decent action sequences, although the action sequences aren't what you would expect, as I just said. Really, the Easter eggs and the world building and the references and stuff, that's the best part about this show. I mean, it's great to see Rosario Dawson back as the Night Nurse. A whole bunch of other references that make this show in particular feel the most interconnected of all the Netflix shows. Overall, I had a blast with Iron Fist. I really liked it. And I'm probably going to give Iron Fist the high end of my Man of Steel. If you've seen Iron Fist, what were your favorite thoughts about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let's talk about it. Hit me up in the comment section and let me know what your high point and your low point of the season was for you. Please like and subscribe, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace!
We put in practice and discipline, no giving up, no giving in. We're match fit, we're here to win. For those who don't know, but